If we speak about Albania, there are so many challenges because children lack access to education, to services like to health services, economic ones as well. Children suffer because of abuse and exploitation and trafficking. All of these leads to the very big challenge that in Albania there is a fragmented child protection system.
The most biggest challenge in Bulgaria, I think, is the poverty. More than 46% of the children in Bulgaria now are at risk of poverty, which is pretty much the half of the Bulgarian population of the children. The other problem is that we are not developed yet fully our child protection system. So we have to do our best really to encourage our politicians to do better changes in our child protection system.
Child protection issue became an issue starting with 1990 after the revolution. Became an important issue starting with 1997 when it was when it appeared for the first time in the discussion between Romania and the European Union. Apparently the government and the other politicians are less and less interested about child protection. So really the biggest issue right now, as it was before 97, is to bring into the public agenda the children's rights.
We are a post-communist country and the party has always rights. So being able to really participate in decision-making process and being heard, that is the biggest challenge.
Main challenge that we are facing in Armenia is the high level of poverty. When general poverty percentage is about 36, in case with children we have about 46, 47, and extremely poverty among children is about 4.1%. Probably this is the biggest challenge that we are facing there in Armenia.
We don't have services for children who are, as a teenager, they are running out from homes, having problems in the street, maybe becoming a victim for abuse and trafficking sometime even. We don't know even about them. So we have institutions for I don't know what, because they are general type of services. They don't address any need of children. At the same time, we have lots of needs that is not addressed at all. So this situation should be fixed. We don't need such a big institutions in our country. This is a small country, and 4,000 children in institutions is not an acceptable thing.
One of the responses of the communist state to any vulnerability of children was to put children in institutions. The majority of these countries still use institutions, and small children are put in the institutions, and this is particularly damaging for their intellectual development. We want to see the institutions in this region being closed down, and these children being offered alternative services.
I think it's a very important initiative to bring together countries with a similar background, similar experience. All of these countries, including Georgia, are facing the similar difficulties and problems, such as I mentioned, children in the institution, support of children and families, and the social inclusion of children, such as children with disabilities, street children, and so on.
Mostly, I'm very impressed by the problems of street children and children with disabilities. We have adopted the law for the inclusive education, where children with disabilities could study at normal schools with other children. But anyway, as I said, the mechanisms for this law hasn't been developed yet. And a lot of children are staying at home, and even parents, they are at the same time ashamed to take their children.
A short list would include, for instance, children in institutions, children in poverty, the risk of children being trafficked, children who are in forced labor, children who don't go to school simply because they have a disability, children who have parents who migrated for economic reasons and they grow with the extended family or with anybody. Street children, a lot of street children in these countries.
We need a regional coalition because we need to unite ourselves. We need to unite because the problem of the Bulgarian children are not only of the Bulgarians. It's problem in the region. It's over the borders.
We need the regional coalition because as far as we have seen in these meetings, we share same causes somehow, but the influence to bring a change on these causes, and especially on children's life, is kind of difficult. If you are together in a coalition, and especially in a regional one, which has an impact on kind of influential agencies and bodies, it is much easier to reach an impact.
Most of these countries are brand new democracies in the last 20 years. So I think we need a strong coalition just to make a countermeasure to this lack of democracy that existed up to this 20 years ago. And this, I would say, other vision on children's rights or against children's rights that existed in the last 60 years.
That's why the idea to have such a network for children's rights in our post-Soviet area, especially in this area, it was something like I was dreaming about. That's why this idea very quickly brought us together. There is common things, there is good practices to be exchanged, and if we are together, of course, the voice will be much stronger than you just talking to your people in your country.
But let's talk about rights of the children and the need of investment in children. Because if you invest in education, you invest in the future, you invest in the children, you invest in prevention. You need to protect them from the violence, you need to give them opportunities for the decent life.
What I find interesting in ChildPact is that it is, for almost the first time that you have this organization that are themselves, that have a certain voice in their own countries, or some that are being strengthened within their own countries, to come together on these issues around children's rights in a regional defined area.
Yes, I definitely see complementarity between Eurochild and ChildPact. As Eurochild, we would be very happy to cooperate with ChildPact and to see where we can influence EU policies and EU decisions, but also cooperate and see how we can strengthen national coalitions, because this is also something that Eurochild is supporting and doing in its activities.
We have big hopes and we have big dreams for ChildPact. We dream that in 10 years from now, for instance, children will not be institutionalized anymore. We dream that there will be a strict law in each of the ChildPact member states which forbids children under 3 years of age to be put in institutions. We also hope that governments will cooperate more among themselves to learn from each other about reforms. There are pockets of success. There are a lot of models of successful services that have been created by the various governments. But the problem is that very often the governments don't learn from each other. Very often we prefer to import expertise, maybe from countries which have a completely different child protection system, rather than going to our neighboring country and ask for experts from their side to help us with issues that we face now here. So we dream about that in 10 years' time we will have the Serbians learning from the Romanians, and the Romanians from the Azeris, and the Azeris from the Russians, and so on.